Oh my god, you guys, come in. Sit down, shut the door. Gina Hung might have gotten Diddy in even more trouble, and she might even have gotten herself jammed up with some charges. Y'all sit down, we gotta talk about this. Listen, if you guys don't know, Gina Hun did two things today. Well, three. One, she exposed herself to be the biggest dumb in history. Second of all, she outed herself as victim number three. Okay? And on top of that, she literally wrote an impassioned letter to the judge saying, her man, her man, her man. However, we all know that Gina is already on the Khloe Kardashian time. She will clock in and put on that clown nose and dance for a couple of dollars. We hope it's a couple dollars. She might have been dancing just because. All right. But the thing is, legal insiders are saying Gina is playing a dangerous game and she doesn't realize that Sean Diddy Coleman's just walked her down the path that could have her sitting in jail next to him. Because at the end of the day, Diddy is a
Present,
desperate man
and
he
no
really
longer
doesn't
has a
care.
voice who
Okay,
will
now
pursue
listen.
justice
This is
for
what
her
my sources are
accusation.
telling me. Let me know what you
As
think.
of the taken
Okay,
against
now
Diddy,
here's the thing. People
no
are saying
expansion
that
of the
Gina is playing a
investigation,
dangerous game
no
because she could
isolation
get
orders,
charged with Section
no
18
equipment
USC
access,
1512
no
witness
suspension of
tampering.
attorney
They said that she could
communication.
actually get charged with not only witness tampering but making false statements to the government and obstruction of justice. And baby, these crimes, if the government can prove it, carry heavy penalties. Witness tampering, depending on the severity, up to 20 years, up to 10 years, or up to 5 years for attempting to persuade a witness to lie, withhold testimony, or not appear. Get this. If feds believe that Gina was bribed, manipulated, or knowingly submitted false statements or testimony, the letter, she could face up to 10 years, especially if it was part of a coordinated effort to obstruct justice. Oh, it's more false statements to the government. If Gina's letter contains knowingly false information submitted to the court, prosecutors could charge her with making a false statement in an official matter that is up to 5 years in prison plus fines. This includes written statements like letters to the judge, especially if called as part of a bail motion, and also obstruction of justice. This covers a broader act of interfering with the due administration of justice, including lying in official proceedings, influencing witnesses, and attempting to corrupt the judicial process that carries up to 10 years in jail. So baby, so what's the bottom line, right? If the feds believe that Gina lied in her letter to the court, was financially influenced to submit it, and or failed to cooperate with the subpoenaed appearance, then she could absolutely be indicted for witness tampering, obstruction, or false statements and face up to 5 to 10 years in prison, depending on the charge. And remember, and this is the big thing that people need to remember, and this is what Diddy might not have counted on, the bigger risk is for Diddy. If they can prove that he was a source of pressure or payment, then he gets hit with obstruction, witness tampering, and maybe new charges, especially if Gina gets immunity to testify against him. You guys, I do not think that Diddy thought that letter was going to turn out the way it did. Now let's actually sink down deeper into it because it needs to be talked about. Now you guys need to remember Gina was listed as victim number 3, but she refused to testify. She was the one named. She gave testimony in front of a grand jury. She gave testimony in front of the netizens on Tasha K when she outlined his brutality, okay? But she was not called as a witness in the federal case. She refused to testify. She disappeared during key moments. She popped out to do a poll at TMZ when she was supposed to be missing, talking about, I don't think he's a danger. And it's rumored she's been financially supported by Diddy, rent, legal fees, and all that message. All that other stuff, right? Now you remember this happened during the trial. Again, let me break it down. She was one of the main witnesses in the case. They would call her material witness. She was named as a victim and she was subpoenaed to come in, and suddenly she reappeared with a glowing letter of support. Again, this isn't just a character ref. This is somebody we would say strategic, a strategic piece of evidence designed to directly undermine the prosecution's theory of danger to victims. The problem is Gina was one of the alleged victims. Prosecutors have previously suggested Diddy may have threatened, bribed, or intimidated. So now that she suddenly reemerged on Diddy's side, it creates a perception of witness tampering, even if it's subtle or unspoken. That's the first thing that Diddy got a problem with. Okay, now people have been saying, yo, Diddy got to, she disappeared when they needed her and came back when he could help him. And this is witness tampering pure as day. They're even saying if she wasn't paid off. This looks horrible. But again, a woman who ghosted the federal government just pops up with a signed letter for the guy she said not just hurt her but tried to stomp a bee out of her. And we're supposed to believe this again. Did he don't care? He don't got nothing to lose. But the fact that Gina got walked off, well, who knows? She might have did this on her own. She either got walked into this or she knowingly wanted to make a fool of herself with this. Again, this does not look good for Diddy because it's going to backfire. I know they thought this letter was meant to help, and I think Diddy's desperate now that Trump said he ain't letting him out at all. But if you put it into context, my sources say it confirms what the prosecution had already warned the judge about, that Diddy has power, influence, and financial reach to silence or sway his accusers through fear, money, or manipulation. The feds can easily go up there and be like, see, Judge Aaron, this is exactly what we meant. We said he was tampering with witnesses. Look what happened with victim number 3. And again, even if Diddy can make the argument that this letter is technically legal, it could function as proof of the main problem. The defense is saying, look, Gina says he's not in danger, even though Gina said a lot of stuff.
and no longer has a voice who will pursue justice for her accusation.
Say, and Your Honor, we just
As of the
watched him in
Aiken
real
against
time
Diddy,
neutralize another
no
victim.
expansion of
That's
the
danger.
investigation,
Again, some people
no
are saying that the
isolation
feds can
orders,
go after Gina,
no
but they
equipment
gotta be
access,
careful about it
no
because the way
suspension
they
of
could
attorney
get her is she is a
communication.
mama material witness. Okay, she was a material witness. Now the material witness. This is again, I don't think Gina saw this coming, and I don't think Diddy. Everybody's talking about, oh my God, I hope they bring state charges up. I do hope they get him on state charges. But baby, by writing this letter, they might actually have Diddy on enough to get federal charges. And now that Trump has signaled he don't care, he wasn't on the winning team. Nah. Now that Trump has literally said to Diddy that he is on his own, I mean, who's going to stop? Now again, let's get back to Gina being a material witness under 18 USC Section 3. A material witness is someone whose testimony is essential to the case or unlikely to appear voluntarily. Now we all know that Gina was not only essential to the case, she was named as one of the victims. And I do honestly believe that if Gina had bridged the gap, I think they would have gotten him on this sex trafficking. I really do. But a fool and his dummy are never parted. If both were true, and I believe they are, the court can issue a material witness warrant. Again, that would be to detain or compel testimony. Okay, however, being listed as victim number 3 in the indictment, that was already enough. Think about the prosecution meant to call Gina and made a case where her testimony was critical, and Gina still refused to appear, disappeared, and otherwise avoided cooperation. Okay, again, Gina was explicitly identified in finance as a victim. She not only was referenced, but she testified before the grand jury. She was expected to testify. She refused to appear and then disappeared. Her lawyer even disappeared. The lawyer Diddy was paying for, and now she suddenly reappeared to write a letter. Baby, this is textbook setup for material witness issue. Again, she was subpoenaed. Her absence weakened their case, and she had material info about the charge, the violence, the coercion, the past abuse. They can, and my sources say they may argue that since she was a material witness who evaded appearance, they could pursue obstruction or witness tampering charges depending on what they actually have proof happened behind the scenes. You guys, this is a strategic problem for Diddy. Even if there is no money trail to Gina or one that they can prove yet, her letter contradicts early accusations, undermines the prosecution, and confirms that what they warned the court about the influence over victim. If they believe Gina was paid, pressure, or coaxed into silence, her reappearance may backfire hard and trigger reopening of obstruction or tampering investigations with Diddy, or a motion to disregard her letter as tainted, or even a grand jury scrutiny of her and Diddy's financial relation. Again, you guys, this is bad for Diddy, and I can't believe that they even tried to do that. Again, people make legal, and there's also a moral argument people aren't actually paying into. Okay, Gina is saying, I don't think he's an issue. Baby, a victim's forgiveness is not erase Diddy's danger to the general society. Nobody cares if you don't care about getting drop-kicked in the face, Gina. Diddy can't be drop-kicking women in the case. Oh well, right? This is not Gina versus Colmes. It was America versus Colmes. Because what's on trial wasn't just what he did to her, it's what he represents. A system where power and money let men brutalize women and walk away clean. Even if Gina forgave him, you guys, it wouldn't be an argument. We don't legalize abuse just because someone's learned to live with. Gina's writing this letter isn't proof Diddy's not dangerous. It's proof his reach reaches further than we thought. And you don't get to drop
Taken
kick
against
someone
Diddy.
in the mouth and
No
then,
expansion
and then
of the
have them
investigation,
apologize for bleeding.
no isolation
Gina may be
orders,
okay with it now,
no
but what
equipment
message does it
access,
send to the
no
next?
suspension
This
of
case
attorney
was never,
communication.
and it's no longer about whether Gina feels safe. Is about whether any of us should feel safe in a world where power buys silence, where abuse gets phrased as framed as misunderstood love, a modern love story, and where influence becomes immunity. Baby, listen, Gina's a dummy for doing this. But again, I think she's doing it because she wants to do it. And again, people can say Gina's a victim, and I truly do believe that Gina might be the victim. But at a certain point, when the victim sides with the devil, baby, you're the ops and we gotta treat you as such. Listen, let me know what you think in the comments. But my sources are saying that Diddy might have overplayed his hand. He's so desperate to get out of jail. Again, false statements to the government, obstruction of justice, witness tampering. Again, if the feds believe that she lied in her letter, was financially influenced to submit it, and failed to cooperate with a subpoenaed appearance, she could be indicted. She could be facing 5 to 10 years, and they might need to do that as proof. They might need to do that as proof to everybody else that you can't play in the federal government's face, okay? And again, this is a bigger risk for Diddy. If they can prove he was a source of pressure or payment, then he gets hit with obstruction, witness tampering, and maybe even new charges. Even if Gina gets immunity to testify against them, y'all, the plot is thickening. The plot is thickening. It looks like that not being pardoned by Trump got Diddy spiraling and getting sloppy. And baby, we love to see it. Oh, I'm praying the feds bring more charges against them. If not, California, New York, Miami, you know what needs to be done. Anyway, y'all let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you later.